If you've ever thought about starting your own YouTube channel, but you just don't know where to start, I'm going to give you kind of my what I've been using as a general formula to get you going. And it's something you can reuse with different content ideas, but this is kind of the foundational part of what I do, and then I tweak it to, different ideas and different analytics that I look at later on. So first we'll talk about the title and the thumbnail, and then we'll go into the formula that I use every time, and then I'll talk a little bit about how I tweak that afterwards to come up with the next one. So the first thing I do when I start to think about what kind of video I want to create is obviously it has to be something that I know about, or at least I feel or think about. It has to come from me. I can look around and get ideas from what other people are doing, but the ideas need to be mine. I don't want to just go and copy somebody else and, word for word, or even like idea for idea. I want to come up with my own stuff. So the idea creation part, I really try to get a good title and then a thumbnail to go with that. But the title, I think, is really important because that's kind of where the idea generates from. So I might see other titles that have been working for other people and then just kind of use that title and put my own take on that title. I've done that with a couple of videos and they've done really well. The other thing is, if I have a thought on my own, then I'll just kind of try to create a title that is appealing either in search terms, or it gives you some kind of curiosity to want to click into the video. Sometimes it used to be, I think the term used to be like clickbait, but you don't want to be clickbait. You don't want to give something deceptive. You don't want to deceive the person to click in, because they're not gonna stay. If you've deceived them, then they're gonna be like, well, this isn't at all what the title was talking about. So that's gonna actually hurt your channel and hurt your video. And it's going to kill your retention rates, which is bad for the algorithm. It's not going to recommend your video if it's something that's, not accurate to what you're trying to give them. So you want to build enough curiosity that it's not deceptive, but you have your own take on it and you have your own ideas that you can give into that sort of a title, or that idea that you're trying to portray. So that's the first thing I do. And then the second thing I do is try to come up with a thumbnail. And usually, well, I could kind of do this afterwards, after the video, but the idea of the thumbnail it's also in the marketing of the video. So when people see your video when they're scrolling by, it's got to be something that draws them in, or at least is somewhat appealing, and it can play off of the title. So when you're doing the thumbnail, you don't want to do the same words that you've already put in your title, because that's kind of redundant, and it doesn't help the viewer to see more of what you're talking about. So you can do a couple words in the thumbnail, and that'll give them some curiosity to look more and see, maybe they'll look at your title after that. Or maybe if they look at the title first, then the thumbnail, what's written in there will give a little bit of extra information, or maybe further pique the curiosity to click into it. So those are really the basic foundations of the thumbnail and the title. That's kind of like your marketing side of the video itself. So once you've got that established and you've got a good title and thumbnail, then you'll want to go into the next step, which is writing the script. So I have a formula in what I used to write the script, and usually what I'll try to do is give basically 3 different parts to the whole video. So the first part will be the introduction, and then the 3 parts will come right after that. So the introduction will be basically the hook. When somebody clicks into the video, that you've given them from the title and the thumbnail, you want them to know that they've clicked into the right thing. So at the very beginning, you want to give them a structure that lets them know, within the first 10 or 15 seconds that they've clicked into the right thing, that you're not going to go off in a different route. They want to understand what they're getting into because they're devoting their time to your video. So they want to make sure that they're getting something that they're paying with their time to get. And you don't want to leave them hanging on that. So give them what they clicked in for. Just summarize what they clicked in for in the first 10, 15 seconds. And then, kind of finish that introduction, in the first 30 seconds or sum it up. Sum up that video in the first 30 seconds so they know what they can get out of it. And you can kind of tease what's in there in the first 30 seconds too, so that they know kind of throughout the video what they're going to expect to get out of it. So then after that, you go into your first point, or, you can structure this in different ways. I kind of do it in 3 different acts where I open up the first act and have kind of a point that I'm trying to get. And I open that with a loop. I'll put an open loop in there to get them to kind of get their brain going about what this part is about. So I'll kind of go through that, and at the end kind of sum it up and close that loop off for them. And then I'll go into the second act, and I'll do this for 3 acts. Basically 3 points of the conversation. So I'll go into one, the introduction, then I'll go into the first act, second act, third act. Each one of those acts, I'll open it up with a loop, and then I'll close that loop off at the end of the act. So that's basically my structure for the script, for the outline of the script. And then I'll just go into more detail and write those out, write each act out. And then at the end of the video, is where you would put the rest of the conclusion of the video. So after those 3 acts, then you would conclude the video. So now that you understand the kind of the structure of the script, we'll go into the next part of it. So in this last part of the strategy for, after you get done scripting and you've written all that out, and you've made the video at this point, and you put that out. The next thing I want to talk about is having a baseline for your video and being able to use that baseline for tweaking your next video. So this might take some time after your video's been published. It might take at least a week or so for some numbers to come in, because in the thumbnail, YouTube has that new thing where you can put 3 different thumbnails and let it, decide which one's the best. And if you look at your analytics for that, that's very valuable information, because you can see what's working best, and then you can tweak that for the next video. So you can start to get an idea of what's working and what's not. So whatever worked last time in your last video for the thumbnail, you can look at that and compare it, make new thumbnails, but use the same concept from the last video, and then do 2 brand new ones. And every time your next video comes out, you can use that winning formula for the next one. And then if you have a winning formula for the next one that beats that one out, then use that one going forward, and so on. And then you can start to get better in your thumbnail process, and you can see what's working and what's not. And this is a new feature for YouTube, but it's really valuable in seeing, as getting views. The first part of that is your title and your thumbnail. I mean, it's what people click in for. And so being able to get that thumbnail correct is really, really good information. It'd be nice if they had that for the title too, where you could have different variants for the title and do the same thing with the title. I don't think they have that yet. But the thumbnail right now they do have, so I would definitely, and I try to take advantage of that and just come up with different titles. The other thing you can look at in your analytics is you can see, if you go into the video analytics, where people are dropping out of your videos. So look back and you can watch it as it goes through the timeline in your analytics, and you can see where people have started to fall off. So the next time you go and you try to create something, you can say, well, this didn't do well here, or I did this kind of this way there. So it's a better way of looking at your video and seeing what works and what doesn't. Try to keep things the same as much as you can. So try to have the same camera settings. Try to shoot in the same environment. Try to shoot with the same lighting. For a number of videos in a row, maybe 5 or 10 videos, do the same. Try to do everything the same except one thing. Change one thing in maybe each video. Try to get better with one thing and see if that increases your performance over time. Just changing one thing, and then just going through your analytics and seeing, okay, well, that did better or that did worse. So having that baseline that you're using for each video, I mean, maybe if you had 5 videos that were shot in one place and 5 videos that were shot in another place, but that's the only thing that's changed between those 5 videos, then you can kind of see, okay, well, these perform better than these, and you can change that going forward in the future. So seeing these things, you can see that changing one thing is going to help you to decide what's working and what's not. Because if you just throw everything on a wall and see what sticks every time you shoot a video, you're not really going to have a proper way to see what's working and what's not. So these tools that you have with analytics and the thumbnail, trying the different thumbnails, these are really going to be helpful for you to change, to see what you need to change going forward. Now, obviously, you need to have some things correct, in your script and all that. So that's going to be your main variable. And depending on how good or bad your script or the idea, that could have a big effect too. But being able to isolate certain things and change those out, I think is going to be really crucial for going forward in your channel. It's helped me to see, what's working and what's not, and getting that feedback from the analytics is huge. So get something that works for you. I'm showing you what's working in my scenario, but get something that works for you, and then just stick with what's comfortable for you and what's working for you, and then change one thing at a time and just go from there. Thanks for watching.